is physics, and other things, the issues are engineering. It's getting the right apparatus together to do what they know they can do, but it's just getting it done. I happen to be a proponent of thorium lifter technology, and I encourage you to look it up. Thorium, Thorium. Lifter is LFTR, okay? Just go to capital L, capital F, capital T, capital R. And it's a way of generating energy using thorium instead of uranium. Okay? Let me tell you a little bit about thorium. It's more prevalent than uranium. In fact, the word is we could probably have enough energy for the entire world. I mean, every lock, stock, barrel, inch, whatever, just by going down about 6 to 8 inches in Earth's soil and mining the thorium out of it. Okay? The beauty of thorium is that when it burns in the reactor, it burns down to about 99.9%. So you don't have this issue of Yucca Mountain and where to bury the spent fuel. An advantage of thorium when it burns down is that it's difficult to convert into weapons grade. So there's no need to worry about some little clown riding a camel or a donkey trying to steal it. Okay? So that's an advantage there too. But the greatest advantage of thorium, or the lifter, I should say, it's lifter, it's not the mineral, the lifter technology, is that when it malfunctions, it automatically cools down. It doesn't melt down, which means you don't have to site them near bodies of water. That's why Davis Besse sits on the lake. So they have that constant flow of water, so when that sucker goes hot, they can start splashing the heck out of it. Meanwhile, their staff is running. Now, it's the safety from nuclear, is much greater than all the other sources. I mean, if you want to look at coal, how reliable it's been over the years, and I think we ought to capitalize on it and use it in wiser ways. But when you add in the minor difficulties in the lungs and black lung and all that other stuff that goes with it, it's been a costly and expensive fuel. And nuclear, we haven't had near the loss of life. It does ruin land. If we have a meltdown and it goes bad, we lose land. So the beauty of thorium is it cools down and you don't have that. So if you don't have to put it on bodies of water, I'm sorry, Mike, I promise you I wouldn't do that. So if we don't have to put it on bodies of water, that means we can build smaller units and we can locate them strategically around the state so that each community or county or whatever can have their own little generator right there, which does a couple of things. Number one, it shortens the transmission distance. If we're only hauling the electricity 15 or 20 miles instead of 200, we don't lose as much in the process, and it doesn't cost as much to get it there. Secondly, it protects the grid. If one or two go down for maintenance or whatever reason, the rest of them are still there producing. So the grid is still up and alive and going. So we believe in that. But we found out today there's another side benefit when the thorium is extracted and goes through the process of being burnt for energy. It produces another little chemical. I won't even try to tell you. Technetium? Technetium. Oh, whatever. We just found out today from a physician who's also a PhD. He told us today this is a byproduct that's produced. They use it in radiation for cancer. Okay? And the wonderful thing is it's pretty effective. The terrible thing is we take all of our uranium here in the United States, we send it off to Finland, I believe, where they do the processing, extract this out, and send it back. And 7 years from now, we're not going to be allowed to do that anymore because we're not allowed to export our uranium because of all the safety and security issues that are going on. So we're going to run out of this in 7 years. We don't produce any here in the United States. And it's critical for the treatment of cancer, especially in radiation treatments. So what are we going to do about it? So that's another reason to put the lifter technology in. So we have this side benefit, the medical side benefit, and at the same time producing energy. It just makes sense. And that's something we should learn. It's great to have global trade. I mean, it's wonderful. but at the same time, we should be as self-sufficient as we can be. And here in Ohio, we have it. We have the natural resources to be self-sufficient and to be exporters. And if we're producing energy here, you know, if you're in an industry, you're going to be where the cost is cheaper, right? And if the energy is cheap here, this is where you ought to be. That's just one factor in the whole thing. Another aspect of natural resource, I'm an old farm boy. I think our agriculture needs a boost. I realize right now it's high on the hog, so to speak. Okay? Corn, wheat, beans, all doing well. We used to have a saying on the farm that when corn prices are high, you haul it off. When corn prices are low, you walk it off. In other words, you feed it into hogs and cattle and do that. But I think we need more diversity right now. I, as an old farm boy, whose dad used to rotate his crops, get a little worried and a little nervous when I see corn to corn to corn to corn to corn. Because I know eventually, we keep adding the inputs because of what we're doing to that land. And all you have to do is drive down south and see what cotton did to a lot of the land down there. And I know they're doing it because the dollar's there in the corn. 200 bushel corn makes you a nice yield. But if we had another crop we could add to the mix that would replenish the soil, rebuild the soil without all the costly inputs that we need for corn, industrial hemp's the answer. It's a cannabis plant. But I tell you, you're going to have to do a whole lot of it if you want to get funky. It ain't going to happen. Okay? But the fact is, it's cannabis, and so our Congress, in their wisdom, and our state legislature, in their wisdom, they said, "Oh, it's got cannabis in it, that can't be good." So they banned the production and the growth of it. No, I guarantee you, there are a lot of uses for that. They use it in concrete, for example, to bind it together and hold it together. All kinds of industrial uses. And it is like a legume, rope. But it's like a legume in the sense that it replenishes nitrogen into the soil. So, the problem is now that some of your cover crops, as we call them, don't produce a whole lot of cash. So, you'd rather just put it back to corn. But if we had a good, productive, cash-producing crop that we could rotate in there that would still be profitable, then wouldn't it make sense? And if we could help raise our industrial profile here in Ohio and have more industry and working and manufacturing going on here, where we also had a local place to sell it, wouldn't it make sense? So I support that. I think it just makes sense. It's going to be on the ballot next year. It makes sense for us to add that crop to the mix because it doesn't have any of the bad effects that some people think it does. Okay. A third aspect of agriculture, and this is a minor one, it's a personal one. I think if you produce raw milk and you got somebody who wants to buy it from you, damn it, nobody should stop it. Good producers, solid producers, and informed consumers ought to be able to contract with one another without Big Brother poking his huge nose into the process. I can't imagine a grocery store on earth that's going to take raw milk off the farm, sit it in the back cooler for 3 or 4 days, and then put it on its shelf and hope somebody buys it. That's not going to happen. Let people make informed decisions, and if they want raw milk, I mentioned the other day that other than school, I never had pasteurized milk till I was in my teens. And I didn't consider that stuff at school to be milk. Yeah, it's white water. I mean, I grew up those brown Swiss cows. That's pretty hefty stuff, folks. That was good. And I don't, I might have been 6'8" if I hadn't drunk it. I don't know. I think it was more likely my dad grabbed me by the ear and kicking me in the butt that made me short because I wouldn't listen to him. But anyway, so that's part of my whole agriculture. Let people work, let people produce, and if somebody wants to buy it, let them do it fully informed, and let it be a contract between two people, and let the government stay out of it. The second resources, or that I like to refer to as the human resource. Now, I don't care what the unemployment figures tell you. You all know they're bogus. I'll give you a couple reasons they are. First of all, a lot of people are working 28, 29 hours now instead of 40, but they're considered employed. Right? Another thing is, and I bet you maybe haven't thought about this, maybe you have, is you know we've been fighting wars almost constantly since the 60s. Right? And how many guard and reserve deployments have we had? Who's fighting the war, folks? The guards and reserves. What happens when they leave here? Somebody takes their job until they come back. That's the law, right? So we've got that person considered employed. The real person who has the job is over there getting shot at. Okay? That totally twists our employment situation because of the way we use. I believe it's a tragedy that our guard and reservists have to fight these battles. We've got over 930 bases in more than 130 countries around the world, and most of them don't like us. Stick it where the sun don't shine. We're bringing our folks home. The only reason they tolerate us in a lot of these places is because our personnel spend money in their stores and their suppliers and so forth. You know, maybe I'm wrong. I have this interior belief that the more brash you put on somebody, the more stupid they become. There must be something in the metal, okay? I suspect that a lot of those bases exist so that we can have colonels and majors in command of a post somewhere, okay? To give them a place to go so they can fill out their resume. It's just crazy. Because of that, our professional military, which they've pared down, our professional military now is scattered around the globe, and our part-time military is fighting wars and coming home wounded. The good news is medical treatment is better. The bad news is medical treatment is better, and guys are coming home in terrible conditions that would never have made it before. And the VA is the shining example of what Obamacare will be like. Yeah. We're wasting human resources, and here in Ohio, we show an unemployment rate of roughly 7.6%. I think if you really burrowed down and looked at the numbers, and if you took the 29 hours and converted it to 40, you're more like 11.5, and you're probably more like 17% underemployment. In other words, people with bachelor's degrees are saying, do you want fries with that? Okay, now, part of that's their own fault. You know, when you major in the archaeology of feminist history, the job opportunities are slim. Okay? But, nevertheless, we've got a lot of underemployment, and I think for the governor and the legislature to raise the budget by 21% over 3 years is absolutely unforgivable. The final resource is the creative resource. I should say all these unemployed, underemployed people are a reservoir of talent. Okay, if people come back. We've lost a lot of people in the ages 25 to 35 who migrate out of Ohio looking for job opportunities. I see a few grandparents in here. How many of you have grandchildren that live out of state? It's not easy, is it? We were there. We lived in Pennsylvania and Illinois for a while, and our grandbabies are back in Ohio. Kelly's from Butler County, down between Cincinnati and Dayton, and PJ's in South Toledo. It was tough. You know, and you wanted to see those babies so bad, and it's a 9-hour drive or 7-hour drive, and as you get older, it gets tougher. And then they start getting into sports and school activities and stuff, and so they can't come to see you as often as you would like. It's tough. You know, if we had the opportunities here, your children, your grandchildren would have a reason to stay here. And that's what we want to do. We want to create opportunity. We want to give them the creative resources and let them use their creative resources so that they stay right here at home with family and friends and kids and kin. That's what we want. We want to build our communities back up. We want our families to remain strong, and we want them home. Bring them home. Let's use their creative resources. Also in the creative resource end, it's difficult to drive through Ohio, any town in Ohio, and not find a college. Right? Most of them cost you 40 grand a year, but they're there. You got 2 of them right here in Tiffin. Okay? Neither one's playing football with a hood right now. That's why I'm a Buckeye fan, no offense. But anyway, think of all the creative resources we have there. Again, feminist archaeology is not a good choice. But still, we have talented people at these universities. Students and faculty who we can use to put together in some kind of a mission for Ohio to creatively come up with ideas for their communities. We don't need Heidelberg or Tiffin University telling Meigs County how to operate. I tell you, Meigs County knows how to do profitable agriculture. They've done it before, and they'll probably do it again if the feds aren't watching. But anyway, inside joke. If you're from Meigs County, you know what I'm talking about. There's a thing called Meigs County Gold. It was supposedly, I understand, just by rumor, I understand it was better than Colombian gold. And it was cheaper because you didn't have to haul it across the border. So that's what they tell me. Meigs County people, they are creative entrepreneurs down there. They know what they're doing. But if we take each of these universities and campuses and challenge them to work with their communities, to cooperate, to come up with something to use their creative talents. Now, we're going to keep the sociologists and the psychologists out of it. We're going to put them in their own little room. We'll let them go off and do what they do. But the engineering, the math, the people, the business people who have some ideas, who maybe are getting tired in the classroom and want something to stir their juices and get things going, let's get them to work for Ohio and their communities. Let's challenge them to get the creative forces moving here. Let them have big open seminars where people come in and just throw it out on the table and see what happens. I'll bet you all know, maybe you're one yourself, somebody who tinkers in his garage and does something really innovative, but doesn't either have the know-how or the courage, because he knows all the red tape or she knows all the red tape they have to go through to get it out there, to take it to market. Well, let's just throw it on the table and see what happens. Heaven knows we need something more than fitness shops and tanning booths. No offense if you own one. I think we can unleash the creative aspect of Ohio. That's my creative vision. That's using our creative resources. I've got some people I want to introduce to you now because they've been instrumental in my formation of what I believe is important. First, I want to introduce my wife, Pat. I've taken shots at her all night. We've been married more than 44 years. She says, oh, has it only been 44? But she is the yin to my yang, or the yang to my yang, I don't know. One of those. She's the other one. I'm the dreamer, I'm the flighty one, I'm the one that says, we can do it, by golly, we can do it. And she says, no, you better think this over. But she's been a wonderful mother to our 2 children. When Daddy keeps trying to push him off the cliff, she's the one that says, well, at least hook up the bungee cord. Okay? So, So she's the practical, pragmatic one. I'm the one that says, hey, let's go for it, okay? Let's get her done. Well, her daughter and Daddy's little girl, my daughter Kelly, is here. Where are you, babe? There you are. She's standing up back there. Kelly and her husband Kevin live in Butler County, just outside of Westchester, Liberty Township, near a little place called Bethel. No, Bethany. Bethany. I don't know, something B-E-T-H. Anyway, and they are the parents of Sean and Aaron, the 16 and soon-to-be 14-year-old. And two very talented grandchildren we have, and one of them, we're so proud of them. And Kelly's an attorney. I pushed her into it, and I apologize. But she's a good one. She's a good one. She's a labor attorney. And she represents businesses and entities, or government entities, when the unions try to beat them up. So she's on the side of the board. Anyway, our other one isn't here tonight. He called me and apologized for not being able to make it. That's Rory PJ. He's in the barbecue business. PJ's and his wife Heather, whose birthday was yesterday. I'm not going to go there. Anyway, they're the parents of Sully, who's 4, and Emmy, who's 1. So you see, I got 4 grandchildren. I got 2 kids, 4 grandchildren, and they're 15 years apart. That's a half a generation. A half a generation. That's my family right there. PJ is 6'3.5", 6'4", a little over 300 bills. People look at him and they say, where did he get his size? I say, he got it from me. I didn't keep any of it. We had some questions when he was first born. But when Pat looks into my eyes and says, so help me God, I believe it. But she swears to this day, he was born in Virginia. I was down here in grad school. And she swears that it's possible that the babies might have been switched because he's born in Martha Jefferson Hospital, and they had the same thing happen just a couple of years ago, where 2 babies got switched. And we lived about 12 miles out of town, a little place called Covesville, out of Charlottesville, a place called Covesville, in the mountains. I used to tell my dad it got daylight at 10 and got dark at 2. It's his son would get over the mountain and then go down the other side. Couldn't get any radio down there except WGAR in Cleveland because it shot right down the valley on its way to Florida. Couldn't get Richmond radio. But Pat swears that there's probably some little 5'7" guy with glasses reading a book, walking around the mountains of Virginia saying, why am I here? But we love PJ, and in many respects, I can see Pat and me both in him. He's a dreamer, but he's got a pragmatic and practical side too. And that's what we need in Ohio. We need bold people who have dreams, but who have a pragmatic and practical side. So let's work it out. Let's get a way to make it work and get it done. So, okay? My mother was going to be here tonight. I don't know what happened, Pat. Did you hear anything? Okay. My brother-in-law and sister were going to bring her. My brother-in-law is retired from the funeral business, but fills in the funeral business. So it's possible he got tied up doing something. So she's going to be 90 tomorrow. Yeah. I know you're all applauding because she's obviously a patient and tolerant person. She is a special lady, and I was going to surprise her here tonight announcing. We were just going to have her brought in with my sister and brother-in-law, and I was going to announce it here. And a good friend of mine, Joe Weininger, who some of you may know, Joe said, Charlie, it's not a good idea to surprise a 90-year-old woman in front of 200 people. So, but we had a surprise birthday party for her on Sunday anyway, and she was really shocked when she walked into the place and saw everybody there, surprised. But she would have been here. Mom and Dad were very active in the GOP for years. My dad was treasurer of the county party for a long, long time. here in the GOP. But I firmly believe if Earl were still alive, and he died 10 years ago, he'd be a libertarian. Because he didn't believe in government messing around in his farm. He didn't like it. And he would be, I think he'd listen to his son. And I think he's what I call an old Taft Republican, Robert Taft Sr., not the goofball that was governor. His grandfather was Mr. Republican, who lost the presidential nomination to Eisenhower in '52. But he was a non-interventionist, libertarian, who believed in personal freedom, who believed in constitutional government, who believed that we must defend our country and defend it ferociously, but don't go messing around all over the globe. You get your shoes dirty when you do that. And I think we're learning it real fast in the last few years. And I think that people's and the public's response to this Syrian escapade is showing the federal government that the people are finally waking up. Enough is enough. Because we find out they don't tell us the truth about why they do things. You know, the word is now supposedly we're running guns to those guys anyway. And that's what the whole Benghazi and Libyan thing was about. And so you find all the linkages and all the ties. And here's the tragedy. This is why we need a bold Ohio, okay? Most of you have siblings, or if you've had kids or whatever. And you know, even in a family situation, you cannot govern or manage them equally. Each one has its own unique individual personality. Okay? I was the con man. Mom gave me more breaks than she gave my brother and sister. Okay? But you can't do it because they're not the same. How can you do that with 315 million people? You can't do it. It's unmanageable. That's why the wisdom of the founders, the foresight of the founders, is so that each, at least state, determined its own destiny within the framework of this Constitution and only give the federal government these powers. And trust me, I don't want to say federal government. I want to say national government because it's no longer a federation. It's calling the shots. And those wusses in Columbus are saying, okay, whatever you want. It's time for Ohio to stand up again, I tell you again, and say no. I believe that we have it in us. I got to admit, there are times I despair. I really do. And you know, you've all heard the thing when more people are taking from the government than they're producing and supporting the government, you've already hit the tipping point. And I'm hoping that maybe even if we've hit the tipping point, perhaps financially or economically, we haven't hit it spiritually, in the sense that some of those people who are now on the taking side still have a lingering sense of maybe guilt. Maybe they remember a generation before where grandpa and grandma, mom and dad, where they felt this just isn't right. And maybe we can salvage them and bring them back to liberty and bring them back to turning people loose to be what they can be, instead of waiting on Uncle Sam or Big Buckeye to produce it for us. And that's my hope. Again, I told you, sometimes I despair. But when I do, I get hope. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, we got a contribution from a lady who is a good friend of mine on Facebook. We met once, but she was in costume, so I don't know what she looks like. But she's a dear friend. She's been following us. She followed me in the last campaign. She corresponds with me back and forth and has pithy little things and shares some good sayings with me and things like that. And she sent a contribution yesterday. Now let me tell you, she's got 2 children. One's a teenage daughter, and she's got a 10-year-old son who's autistic. Now, as you know, that's an expensive proposition, not just financially, but also emotionally. I mean, it's difficult. It's tough. And I wrote to her, and I said, you shouldn't have done this. You should have saved it for him, because he's going to need help when your days here are gone, or you're unable to help him anymore. And she wrote back to me, and she said, I did help him. You can't not want to fight for that. You know, we can't waver. We can't falter. We must fight on. And fight we will. We will not quit. We're going to win this thing. The odds are against us, but we're going to win it. I need your help. I need every person in this room to help us. Obviously, by voting for us. So whatever you do, eat healthily. You've got 13 and a half months to live. Don't cross me up now, okay? But I need you to work for us too. You realize that if you contacted one person a week and convinced them to at least look us over, you know, let them look at Sherry first. Don't spoil it. But convince them to look us over. One person a week, you will have contacted 58 people that you might have made a difference in this election. And that's not all. Because if they like what they see, they're going to tell somebody else. So it's geometric. It's like the snowball rolling down the hill. But if you really want to help us win, one a day is even better. That's 420. Well, roughly. I don't do math. You hire grunts to do that. Anyway, no. But think about that. Only one a day. Just take a look. You don't have to sell them on us. I'm the evangelist for liberty. Just get them to listen to us. All you got to say is just look. Take a look. Are you happy with the way things are? And I gave you an illustration. I served with all those clowns who are in office today. It's not better. It's not better. So just get them to take a look. So one a day, that's multiply yourself by 420. You think you don't make a difference? You do. Sorry, Mike. They want to look at my ballot.
Got it.
You do. There are people who trust you, people who love you, people who believe that your judgment is sound. Some people think you're crazy. Okay? But if you act normal for a minute or two, they might be intrigued. Okay? So, that's all you got to do. But we also need your financial help. We know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they are officially going to spend between $4 and $6 million each. Now, the unofficial figures are more like 12, because they're going to have a lot of outside money coming in under PACs and so forth, supporting them, that we don't have. Not that many corporate crony companies like Liberty. You know, the idea of competition scares them. They'd rather buy their favoritism through government. That's okay. We've got the vision here. We've got it here. And if we can ignite it in enough people and make them aware of what we're doing, we'll get it done. We'll get it done. 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 58 by 58, 420 by 420. And while you're doing that, Sherry and I are not going to be sitting still. We're going to be talking to other groups just like you, all around the state. We're going to be talking to Rotarians and Chambers of Commerce. I may have to carry a 2 by 4, but we're going to talk to them. We'll get their attention. We'll tell them it's liberty. It's liberty. It's not big government. That's not the answer. You don't live the rest of your life hoping to get a government contract. We want to end that. So, we need your financial help too. So I'm going to ask the ushers to come forward. Do I hear an amen? All right. And they're gonna pass the bucket. I ask that you please put something in it and not kick it. We need you for another 13 and a half months, okay? If you want to do a check or larger amount, Nathan Eberly right here is our campaign treasurer. He'll take care of it. So I introduced my family to you. I do want to introduce the people who are working hard in this campaign. Nathan is our treasurer. He's also the field development director for the party. He just got appointed. He's also on the state executive committee, and he doesn't have anything to do. No, not really. Ingrid Lush is our campaign director. She's got the bucket right now. She's our campaign director. I swear she and Pat have been sharing notes. She tells me I'm stupid. I don't know what I'm doing. You can't wear that. Okay? If they aren't talking, they're on the same wavelength, and that's scary. That I picked a campaign director. Well, maybe I've just settled in after 44 years. Who knows? Who knows? So they're two critical people in our campaign. Are any of our county coordinators here tonight? Greg, you and Helen, Mike? Okay, well, stand up, come on. There we go. We've got county coordinators all over the state. We don't have every county filled. So if you know people that would be willing, if you want to, take care of a county coordination, this is going to be a pretty much bottom-up campaign. We're going to try to integrate some things and do some things together, but for the most part, you know, I'm a libertarian. I don't want government in your face, and I don't want a campaign office in your face either. You know what's best for your county. And speaking of your county, Beck Orange, Janet Del Freeman, and Mike Houck are heading our fight here in Seneca. Stand up. They know what you look like, but anyway, come on, Jan, you take it. Hold it up, you orange. Okay, there we go. Mike's here in the camera. If he stands up, then the video will show a nice picture of my shoes. So, okay. But we want the counties to determine what's the best way to tell their friends and neighbors about Sherry Clark and Charlie Earl, and about liberty, and about a vision for Ohio, and about a bolder Ohio. And they're going to keep us informed about the events and all that stuff. We'll have to make judgments. You know, maybe a big event in Bloomville, but there's a bigger one in Dayton. Okay, we may have to make those calls some days, but we will try to get everywhere as often as we can and see as many people as we can. And we ask for your help in getting out yard signs. We ask for your help in literature. We just got our literature stuff in. We don't have it printed yet. We just got the artwork done. So hopefully that'll be out, but they will be your contacts and all that. We're also going to have it on our site, so you can go in there and download it if you want to. If you just want to hang one up in a bulletin board somewhere and do it that way. But people ask me if you got a chance, and I say, yeah, I got a chance. I don't have a choice. I told you that to start. And people said you got a big hill to climb. I said, yeah, we've got a hill to climb. So what I'm telling you is, mount up, troops. We're going to charge that hill, and we're going to take it.
Charlie Earl, everybody. The next governor of the state of Ohio. And that's just the beginning. Thank you so much for having us. A few more words from Jim, and please have a wonderful night, everybody. Thank you.